Oh, I should have hit it harder then. All right. Town of North Smithfield Planning Board meeting for Thursday, October 13th, 2022. It's called to order. First item on the agenda is roll call. Mr. Fournier?
Here.
Mr. Punchak?
Here.
Mr. Keene?
Here.
Mr. Menard?
Here.
And the chair is here. Second item on the agenda tonight is to review and approve the August 25th, 2022 meeting minutes. Give everybody a minute to take a look at those.
I just have one comment. How come roll call you don't include who was here and who wasn't here?
Because it says members present up at the top.
Oh, all right. I will do it too.
I had a chance to look them over. They look fine to me. I move that we accept them as presented.
Okay, we have a motion to accept as presented. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second from Mr. Fournier. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Item number 4, disclosure. Planning board members shall disclose potential conflicts on matters before the planning board. Any this evening? Okay, hearing none. We also have disclosure and notice. Planning board members shall disclose any ex parte communications about any contested or material adjudicatory facts or opinions concerning the merits of any application before the planning board this evening. Do we have any of that? All right. With item number 6, declaration of voting members, with Mr. Pilardi absent this evening, we have Mr. Fournier, we have Mr. Punchak, Mr. Keene, Mr. Menard, and myself as the voting members. And then with that, we're on to item number 7, public informational meeting, major subdivision with Gendreau Investments, location 54 Hillview Avenue in Norwood Road, Assessors Plat 6, Lot 73 and 91. And with that, I will shoot it over to the planner for review.
So basically what you have here are 2 abutting through lots with an existing dwelling on it. The understanding of the planning department was that the owner of the property purchased the property within the last year, and understanding that it was 2 separate lots, sold off the rear lot. And upon having performed a survey after the sale of the property, it was determined that there were encroachments on the rear lot. So the applicant is coming before the board today to see if they can rectify that situation by moving the rear property line away from the home back into the rear lot. That request will leave less than required setback for the existing home. There's also a request for an easement for an encroachment of a patio in a wall. The planning department is suggesting that rather than issuing an easement to the abutting property, to move that rear property line further into the abutting lot to eliminate the need for the easement and the encroachment. That request will reduce the pre-existing lot just below 20,000 square feet, but the department is of the opinion that the application has to go to the zoning board anyway, so rather than forward something to the zoning board with easements and encroachments, to make both lots freestanding on their own would be the preferred alternative.
All right, and with that, we'll let the applicant give a brief presentation.
John Longo, I'm the attorney for the applicant, Gendro from Manual Drive. Mr. Capullo summarized it well. My client bought it at a foreclosure sale in March. The former occupant has just moved out at the end of September. The only thing I'd add to the planner's presentation is right now it's an RE zone. Residential urban, most dense area. The rear lot is buildable as is right now. It's 22,000 square feet. It does need some road frontage. It doesn't have adequate road frontage, but it's, it meets the requirement for size-wise, area-wise for a building lot. So the existing house right now doesn't meet the current setbacks, but by moving the line back onto the rear lot, vacant lot, it's gonna make the front lot more conforming. And we had originally proposed keeping the rear lot 20,000 square feet and keeping our patio via an easement, but we are certainly, if the board is inclined to, we have no objection to the planning board's, the planning staff's recommendation, and instead of an easement that we yield it, with just a straight moving the line. The purchase of the rear lot are here as well. They support this. They're eager to get this resolved so they can build. They have plans to build a single family house there.
Any comments from the board?
What would be the distance once, if that easement were to be dismissed in the application and the line were to be moved where that easement is? There's no, or I can't see a measurement on the plan. You had originally 18 feet, you were,
So,
what would be your setback?
If we kept the rear lot, well, again, right now, the front house doesn't meet the setback, so we'd be moving, because the lot line is either through the rear 2 feet of that front house, or it's like right at the edge of that front house. So we had pushed it back as much as we could, keeping the rear lot 20,000 square feet, and that left us with 8 feet of our patio still on the rear deck.
Okay, so now you become 26 feet.
Correct.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, this is for, I'm sorry, Mr. Gendreau?
Gendro
The-
Investments, Bill Gendro, and
Okay, so this purchase of the lot was made, you don't intend to move in, this is for resale? Yeah, okay. And so it's an investment type of a situation, okay. Thank you.
I have a question. So looking at the drawing you provided, it looks like, was this used as a commercial building at one point? It's just the way the driveways are, the parking, seems like there's an awful lot of asphalt and this little island on, I guess, the south side of that lot. Was it used as a commercial building at one point, or?
so some of the neighbors are here who live across the street. I think they could probably address that better. I mean, it's always, as far as we can determine, it's always been zoned residential. I know the owner who lost foreclosure, who's just moving out, he had a construction business. I understand from the neighbors that he would come in from the back lot with trucks and whatnot.
So from Norwood Road.
Yes,
So the intent for that existing house would be to become a residence.
yes, oh, yeah, yes,
And the new house would be served from Norwood Road
yes,
if you get a variance.
yes.
I am in agreement with eliminating the easement.
Okay.
What is the setback?
Should be
So
on
it's right on the corner.
Oh, okay.
Outlines the
What's that,
setbacks.
Town record, what, the town is up there?
Yeah, that's the town's setbacks right there.
40.
So not shy of that,
Okay. Does the board have any other questions before we?
So even by moving the lot line, the house still doesn't meet the setbacks?
The front house doesn't.
It doesn't meet the setback. red line.
So do you need a variance for frontage as well?
Well, so since the existing, well, because we're creating a new lot, by moving the line, it triggers the review, because by moving the line, we're moving the line on the lot that's non-conforming, the front line. Building isn't where it's supposed to be.
Let me restate. So if the board disapproved your request tonight, would you still be able to build on the back lot?
Yes.
Any other further comments from the board?
About 20, I believe, on Norwood.
Okay.
It's a platted street, it's just not a.
But as it sits right now, it's an existing non-conforming.
Yes.
So
Okay.
I think they would get it, because it's an existing non-conforming. So basically what they're doing with it is to help the people in the house that's existing.
Yeah, they're looking for
So
more,
they don't
more
lose their
relief,
patio.
they're looking for more relief on the Hillview side than they are on the Norwood side, because it's already an existing lot.
Yes.
It's an existing
And the
non-conforming.
street, you're saying the streets are basically, it's just a non-finished street in front of that lot.
Yes, currently there's 80 foot of pavement and 20 feet of non-pavement.
I think it's an existing non-conforming, and they're improving it to make it better for both pieces of property.
Mhm.
I don't have a problem with that. I like the idea of putting the entire patio on the property, instead of having an easement.
Yeah. Okay. There's no other comments from the board. We'll look to open the informational hearing.
Will we open the public informational hearing?
Okay.
I'll second.
All right. Roll call vote. Mr. Fournier?
Yes.
Mr. Punchak?
Yes.
Mr. Keen?
Yes.
Mr. Menard?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. So the public hearing is now open at 7:15. For neighbors that want to come up and speak, we just request that you state your name and your address, and take it away for whoever would like to go.
Oakdale, 19 Oakdale Road. Kind of a,
Can you,
Oakdale is
I'm sorry, can
across
you
from
repeat,
Norwood.
can you repeat that a little louder?
Sure. My name's David Del Torrio. I live on 19 Oakdale Road. I had a couple questions from what the board has just kind of been reviewing. I'm concerned that there's some precedences that might be set here tonight. The board's talking about, we're looking at, I don't doubt the validity of the plans, but they're not stamped. So we're not positive where these property lines are. They're probably where they are, but if we're gonna be talking about setting easements and distances, we should probably have it right. But the precedent we're looking here is subdividing a piece of property to create two non-conforming lots. Or we're setting a precedent to the planning board allowing easements on private property, other people's budding properties, for structures. In the future, that could be a pool, that could be a fence, that could be a shed, that could be an addition. I don't know. Right now, the lot is conforming. So, with the problem being, right now, we're talking about two reliefs, but we don't know what's being built on the property yet. So there's nothing in front of the board, nothing in front of the town, that there may be more variances being requested. We don't know what's being built there, other than having conversations with the person who bought the property. They're looking at building possibly like a 3-car garage or something, but I don't know if that's the case. I don't want to bring it up, but if anybody knows, maybe they can present some information tonight on what's being proposed to be built there. The neighborhoods on Hillview and Norwood, they were both, I think the 40s and 50s is when these were subdivided. They're 7,000 to 9,000 square foot lots. The houses were all built, 20-foot frontage. You have all capes with an attached one-car garage that nowadays doesn't fit normal-sized cars. And that's kind of with the properties all had 40-foot setbacks. So Hillview and Norwood back up to each other. All the houses have, your 40-foot, so you have an 80-foot separation between the houses. So it's a big difference when we're looking at these two properties and you have the one house is on the property line already. And if you look back at the sales, these two properties are connected. They're not one property. I think there's been 11 sales since 1940 with book and page references are the same. It's all been one property when it gets sold. It doesn't get sold as two properties. The description of 54 Hillview is, it includes two parcels. It doesn't say this is a separate parcel, you're buying two. There's also an easement through 0 Norwood or through 0 Hillview for 54. There's a sewer easement that goes to Norwood for the sewer connection. There's no easement recorded on 0 Hillview. There should be an easement there if it's a separate property. So we're just looking at, I don't know, I'm just concerned with setting precedents here for, it doesn't fit into the neighborhood. We're asking for, the application's asking for a couple variances. I'm just hoping the board, when looking at subdivisions, stick with what the zoning requires. RU is already the smallest zone in town, I believe. If we can just stick with those without having to just push it forward to the zoning relief is kind of what we're hoping. Again, it's just mostly, I think there's some risk here if the board approves this with either approving an easement on someone else's property, or if you go the other way, you're creating two non-conforming lots with a subdivision. There's a piece of property right down the street. It's a 3-acre lot. It's vacant. What if somebody comes to the board and wants to create, non-conforming lots? Who's going to say you can't do that if we approve that here tonight? Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak on the matter? Okay, microphone's yours.
My name is Diane Gamache, and I have lived at Oakdale Road across from them for 54 years. And I've known the owners that have bought that house. And before the person, I was told, and I don't know how true it is, that before that house was sold to him, the person who bought it before him gave the person that lives over there 20 more feet so that he would have the amount of feet that he needed for his property. There is now a fence separating them too. So we're not sure. But one of the things that concerns me is, in all the time we've lived here, we have never had very good water pressure, never. You try and mow your lawn and water it and stuff, and you can't even do that because we don't have enough water pressure. Just this past year, we called the water company again. And I have to say, the first time he did come out and he did help us, but the pipes have not been changed since we moved in. You put another house on top of that property, we're not going to ever have any water. That's one big thing. Also, when he built that house, he had a stupid place that he could have gone all the way back out on Hillview, but what did he do? He put a stupid fence right there at the end of the property on to Norwood, and that's where he would come out. He would go behind his garage, come this way, and then come out right in front of our houses. and it came out all times of the day and night. You can actually see on that property, I'm sure if they've looked at it, they can see tire marks where that's him from going back and forth. And the road is not even taking it. Even the road needs to be repaved. But also, we've heard that somebody wants to build a house with 3 garages. We don't need more traffic on that street. There's technically only 2 houses on Oakdale. And yet, the traffic is horrible. And you go and put another house there, and we're gonna just have even more traffic. And we have a lot of young children in our little area. When I say young, I'm talking just about from 2 or 3 months old until my husband and I in our 70s. And we don't really want all that extra traffic. But between the water and not wanting the extra traffic on that small road, I think that's basically what I'm concerned about. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wishing to speak this evening?
My name is Irene Shuchuk, and I live at 38 Norwood Road, opposite. My house is on the corner, so it's opposite where this new house is planning to be built. As I come here tonight, I'm under the impression that the only thing being considered tonight is whether to move this property line. Is that correct? If that be the case, then the only thing I can agree with is the fact of what Mr. Delatorre said, that making an exception and moving this property line where one house is taking up a whole property and the other one won't be set back as far from the road as it should be is a concern in that regards. If it's more than that we're looking at tonight, we are concerned that there's underground water in that area, and that besides the water, as Mrs. Gamache talked about, the fact that our water pressure is terrible and the water is rusty, there is underground water there, and we're concerned that, you know, if you build a house, are you disturbing that underground water? When I first moved in '79, I was told there was an underground river there. So these are what my concerns are. Thank you.
Okay. Does anybody else have any comments? Then I'd be looking for a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing at 7:26.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Keene. Roll call vote. Mr. Fournier?
Yes.
Mr. Punchak?
Yes.
Mr. Keene?
Yes.
Mr. Menard?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. So, Mr. Carullo and Mr. Igliozzi, in this instance where we are looking at the zoning board requirements for an RU situation, if there's a new lot created, just for everyone's edification, whatever building or residence is put on that house, because it's RU, it's only going to be residential, can only be allowed to be residential. They have to conform with all the setbacks that are listed here. We're not giving any relief to any of the zoning setbacks that are currently outlined in the town charter, town zoning. So that means that they have a 100-foot frontage, which they are asking relief for. The front yard setback is 25 feet, side yard is 20, and the rear yard is 40. So if you were to do the offsets on the property lines that are shown here, you're going to have 20 feet from either side. You're going to have the 25 feet from the front yard. So it does still maintain the setbacks that are outlined in the zoning.
And the 40 feet in the backyard.
And the 40 feet in the backyard.
They'll have to conform to that.
The building footprint will have to conform to that. So, as far as a non-conforming lots, we're not allowed to do that unless the lot is already non-conforming, correct?
Correct.
So the lot that has been proposed this evening is a conforming lot minus the frontage that they're looking for relief on. Right now, the frontage is required to be 100 feet. You folks are looking to have that be put through to be 80 feet. Okay. So I just want to clarify for everybody that there's not going to be some commercial building being put in place. It is going to be a residence. And it's not, I understand you're concerned about the previous owners and the traffic. It's only going to be allowed to be a single-family home. So there would be one additional family. I understand that the concern with traffic. I also understand the concern with water and water pressure. We've had similar situations where we've had other properties come in front of us, and we hear you, we hear your concern. We can send recommendations over to the Department of Public Works so that they can look at that. That's somewhat out of our control. So I just wanted to make sure I'm giving everybody an understanding of what we have control over and what we don't have control over. Sure.
The way I see it, it's, right now, it's a conforming lot minus the 20 feet of frontage, which makes it an existing non-conforming lot. So if they chose to leave the lot line the way it is, they're keeping their square footage, to keep it to the conforming square footage minimums, they're just losing their 20 feet. But being an existing non-conforming, it's almost like, because it's existing, it's making it buildable. So all they're doing is moving the lot line to help the neighbor with the existing house.
Mhm.
So it's not really creating a non-conforming lot.
Correct.
Right?
I'd like to address the water issue. I live in a RU neighborhood, and I understand the water pressure concerns. As a matter of fact, recently, there was a large lot near my house that was subdivided and into 3 lots. And the water pressure was so bad on one of the adjoining streets that one of the houses had to put in a well, even though we have sewers and water in the neighborhood. The water pressure was so bad they had to put in their own private well, which was fine because we've got sewers in the neighborhood. I understand there's sewers in this neighborhood that people are tied into, so I would like to consider having a stipulation that rather than tie into the water supply, that you drill a well. That's my consideration.
I want to rewind back to the first gentleman who spoke about the property has been sold 11 times and it's always been sold as one lot. And now looking at this drawing a little further, with the monuments to be set, the fact that the property line is hand-drawn in and red ink kind of doesn't give me a very good feeling about this survey. Plus, it's not stamped, which he did mention. So I'd like to see a, certified survey before you have it. And it was 2 separate lots. It's always been 2 separate lots.
Yeah, we submitted, plans we submitted were stamped, I think we had submitted some preliminary ones.
They just did that because of ease of notice, but existing line is here. let me just clarify that. It has not been sold as one lot. It's been sold with one deed containing 2 lots. Okay, so that it has not been sold as one lot. It is currently 2 assessors' lots on the assessor's map. Planning staff went back and we looked back to 1948, all the way back to the plats in 1948. This neighborhood was platted as 7,000 square foot lots. So at some point between 1948 and today, a lot of those lots were merged. Before 1992, by statute, under Rhode Island general law, you could just merge lots without doing subdivisions. So as people would be building on houses, they would build across property lines of 2 or 3 lots to conform, and then as the tax assessor would be doing their assessor's records, it was common practice in communities for a resident or even the tax assessor to merge these lots by eliminating the lines and creating what we call assessor's lots rather than record lots. That's the situation that happened here over time, but at the end of the day, while it has been transferred, those 2 lots have been transferred together, they have never been converted into one lot. That would require a deed and a meets and bounds description and an administrative subdivision merging those lots. That has not happened. I can understand a layperson looking at that and seeing that it's a deed and assuming that's how the transfer works. But technically, and we have these conversations all the time, there's a big difference between an assessor's lot and a record lot. And when you're looking at land and zoning and planning regulations, you always look at the record lot. The assessor's lot has very, very little legal, other than billing, really doesn't mean much.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, it might be helpful, and for the public, I think if you zero in on the issue before this board, right? If you look at that map, the existing lot that's vacant right now, if nobody does anything, is a buildable lot. It's buildable right now, subject to water, sewer. Without any zoning relief, that lot is buildable. What the planning board's job is, they're not here to really at this point. So you could do 2 things. You could, maybe the planning board should look at the request for relief of zoning, because you'd be making a recommendation on that. But really, the only question before you tonight is, do you, at this preliminary stage, step 1 of 3, think that it's better to have that lot moved, that lot line moved, or the applicant would have to, at some day down the road, go and get the pre-existing house, I guess, conforming? It's not about the pre-existing vacant lot, it's really about the pre-existing house lot. It's really about what you think from a planning perspective, where's the best place to put that line? Now, they're asking, if they ask you, you grant their preliminary request to move the line, subject to zoning, obviously, subject to sewer, subject to water, subject to environmental concerns, all of which don't get dealt with today. They're taking the risk that if they get all that, and the zoning board has to consider now additional relief, because now they're changing that pre-existing non-conforming lot. So they go there, they give it a shot about doing that. It's really about the patio, from what I understand. Does the pre-existing house have to eliminate its patio? That's really the question from a planning perspective. And I know everybody wants to get into the zoning, but the zoning board's a different hearing. Will be noticed to everybody again. This board doesn't decide zoning. They just make recommendations to the zoning board. I don't know if just splitting the 2 issues might be helpful. That's all. The planning issues versus the zoning recommendations. I don't know if that helps.
Got a question. So if the lot on Norwood, just for conversation, were to add 14 foot to the new lot line, making the pre-existing lot that was non-conforming buildable to 17,712 feet instead of 20,000 square feet, would that still allow a buildable house there for 1? and then that would take away the setback of a non-conforming on the Hillview lot.
Then we're creating.
It's a suggestion to eliminate a situation where we're creating a precedence of making a non-conforming lot.
We're not making a non-conforming lot with this plan. If we go to 17,000, which we can't do, we're making a non-conforming lot.
But would Hillview be a non-conforming, not having the setback, but they previously had no setback?
Yeah, it exists.
Okay.
Is currently a
Okay,
non-conforming lot.
so you've answered my question.
So it's an R20, RU20 zone. Hillview is I believe it's a 14,000 square foot lot
Okay.
as it exists.
Okay, so that question was answered.
Just to address another, we looked at the surrounding neighborhood and did a very quick calculation within the radius area. 91%. So 91% of the lots in the radius area are 14,000 square feet or less. So the lot that we're suggesting get reduced to about 20 or a little bit less than 20,000 square feet will exceed all of the lots within the radius area except for two. And with regard to precedent, there's no precedent in zoning. Each application rises and falls on its own merits based on the facts related only to that property. So in this particular instance, the only way it would be, you would even consider a precedent is if you had the exact same circumstances on another piece of property. Not that you're just going to go around and start approving the creation of non-conforming lots. So there would be no precedent set here.
So essentially, at the end of the day, by anything that we would decide this evening, we would not be creating a non-conforming lot.
You would not, at the end of the day, be creating a non-conforming lot. The zoning board would have to authorize it. My recommendation to you would reduce that, what's going to be a 20,000 square foot lot with the moving of the line. And that's why the applicant only moved the line and didn't move it beyond where it is, so that that pre-existing conforming lot would not become non-conforming. My suggestion as the planner is they want to maintain that patio. In my opinion, you have two choices. You either take out the patio, and then you don't have the issue, or move the line another 8 feet, make the 20,000 square foot lot a little less than 20,000, but not by much. I could run the number right now. I just multiply 8 by 164. And have both lots being self-supporting, self-contained. Or do it this way and have the easement, which I disagree with. There are many issues and I mentioned that to the people buying the lot. You've got an easement, you've got a structure. If the structure falls into disrepair and falls down, you own the lot. You go to the person that owns the structure and says, hey, your patio fell on my property, will you fix it? And they're like, well, it's not on my property. And then you get, it's just better to have clean properties without easements unless it's absolutely necessary.
Understood. Thank you. So that answers that part of what I was and then to answer some of the concerns of the abutting neighbors, I personally have a 3-car garage, and it's my wife and I. In reviewing the house plans, there's 2 bedrooms. We have 3 bedrooms. My 3rd garage bay is used for my toys. And that's what I suspect that this 3rd garage would be, either used for lawn equipment or a toy car. So you're increasing traffic, in my opinion, and I'm not a professional in traffic engineering, but I would tend to think that you would have no added traffic, because if they were using a toy car, their primary car would be left inside the garage, if that were the case. If not, that 3rd bay was used for their zero-stair lawnmower, their snow blower, whatever they choose to put in it, a jet ski, so that you didn't see it out in the property. So that answers that's my take on the 3-car garage. And again, it's a 2-bedroom home, so your occupants are going to be minimal, in my opinion, to that. So your added traffic is not, in my opinion, and again, I'm not a traffic engineer, is not a concern. What is a question for the, I don't know if it's for the the current owner or the owner of the new lot, is what is the proposed connections for water and sewer?
So the planning staff has recommended that we disconnect the front lot. Right now, the front lot sewer connects, goes through the vacant lot, so that we disconnect that, connect to the sewer in Hillview, and then when the new owner of the rear lot builds, he would tie in on, it's not Oakdale, it's Norwood. So that he'd get his utilities from Norwood. The vacant back lot would be served by the existing utilities in Norwood Ave.
Is it currently a curb cut? Or I don't know what the proper word is, if you can help me out, David,
Yeah.
with the
It's-
name for, if you had a water position ready for that lot, a curb stop for that lot.
We don't know. We don't know.
Okay, so that would be up to the water department, whether they said,
Yes.
yes, you have one there, you can tie in, or no, there's not one there, and there's not enough water service, so you can't tie in.
Yes.
I'm looking at this answers for the local, neighbors that have asked this question. That's my whole
Yes.
intent of this question.
Yes. Any building would be contingent upon the sewer permit, the water permit, yes. While I have the microphone, I am going to ask, I don't know what your practice is here, but if you see fit to approve this with stipulations, I'd ask that the final approval be delegated to Mr. Carullo, so if we meet those stipulations, we could,
I think correct me if I'm wrong, folks, but because this is the public informational meeting right now with the major subdivision, this is step one. You have two more steps after that. You have zoning, but then you also have to come back here for approval and then final approval. So there's the master plan approval, then final approval. Final approval can be done administratively, but you will be coming back here.
okay.
Right? Okay.
So we have master plan, that's this stage, to zoning for the relief.
Yep.
Should zoning grant the relief, they're back for preliminary. After preliminary is final, the tradition of the board is, whenever possible, final approval is through the administrative officer.
Can I, Roland, you said you saw it as a two-bedroom house. I see it as a three-bedroom house. On page.
Could I,
It's a three-bedroom house. It's a three-bedroom, but even that, no matter what,
It is a three-bed, I looked at that as a living area, I'm sorry.
Right.
It is a three-bedroom.
but either way, the house needs to meet the setback requirements, and it's still gonna be one family. So it's, but it is a three-bedroom, and it needs to meet the setback requirements.
I've got for Mr. Del Toro, I think you were the one that asked about what was going to be built. We were handed some plans, and I don't know if you'd like to. Oh, okay.
Okay. So, again, before the board tonight, the recommendation from the planning office is to grant the master plan approval with the following stipulations. So, those stipulations are that the applicant shall receive the required dimensional variances from the zoning board of review for less than the required rear yard setback and less than the required frontage on an improved town roadway. Number two is that the applicant shall shift the proposed new rear lot line approximately 8 feet to the south to eliminate the need for a proposed easement to accommodate the existing patio and retaining wall. Number three, that the applicant shall abandon the current sewer line connection as previously discussed. Number four, that any proposed new dwelling to be constructed on Lot 91 shall be connected to the existing sewer line in Norwood Road, subject to the approval of the North Smithfield Sewer Division. As well as number five, that the preliminary plan shall include the proposed dwelling and proposed driveway locations for Lot 91 and indicate proposed sewer connections and lots for lots 73 and 91. Based on what we've also heard this evening, I would also like to add the stipulation about checking with the water for water pressure. So we can address those.
We will address that, Mr. Chairman. The solicitor suggested that number 2 be amended to add the wording "or reduce the patio" in case the zoning board is not so inclined to
Sure.
move that line at our suggestion, or our recommendation.
Okay. Are there any other further stipulations that the board would like to discuss?
I have a question regarding the water. So is it, we need approval for the water, or because if we don't get approval, we could potentially do a well?
You would need, not at this stage, but normally if you look at the preliminary, I don't want to speak for the planner, but I think on the preliminary plan checklist, you're required to show that you have approval of water at that level. You don't need it for master, you don't need it for zoning, but to come back, you have to have, whether it's DEM, OWTS approval for sewer, or well, or actual water and sewer line. And I don't know if sewer lines are available here. They
I
are.
just want to make sure that we didn't have to be we have to have a water source.
Correct.
That information has to be produced to the planner before you can come back here. That's 2 steps away, 2 steps away.
Okay. Please.
Thank you. I'm just wondering, will the new house be required to meet all the setbacks of the zoning?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. It has to, or else the building inspector won't issue a building permit. Okay. So as we move forward, we do have the stipulation number 2, or reduce the patio wording, the additional stipulation for the water. Is there any other further discussion on the matter before the board this evening? So then we would be looking for a motion. Yeah, we closed that already. Yeah. You seconded it.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
It's not easy being me, you know.
I know, you got a lot on your plate.
If we're looking for a motion, I'll make a motion to grant master plan approval with the stipulations as written, with stipulation 2, adding the wording "or reduce the patio," and then also adding stipulation number 6, that they have water approval.
Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Oh, we have multiple seconds. All right, Mr. Punchak, Mr. Menard.
Dave beat me, I think.
Okay. Then we will move on to roll call. Mr. Fournier?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I would think that the board would want the planner to incorporate the elements, the required findings, and within the decision. In this case, they're obviously pretty self-explanatory, but I think the final decision should include compliance with those findings. I'm sure this planner would do that automatically. But
Yes. So, sorry, who made the motion? Mr. Fournier made the motion. Mr. Punchak, would you withdraw your second?
I'll withdraw my second.
All right. Mr. Fournier, would you like to amend your motion to include the planning office findings that are listed in our agenda here?
I will make a motion to grant master plan approval with the addition of the planning office findings, and adding to number 2, the wording "or reduce patio," the size of the patio, and adding stipulation number 6 that they have water approval.
Okay. So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Can we have a discussion real quick, just on that patio thing? So if they move the property line 8 feet, we're making a non-conforming lot. I don't like that. I think it's remove the no easement, remove the patio. Keep the lot so that we're keeping them a 20,000 square foot lot, and you have to modify the patio, no easement. I don't think we wanna make a non-conforming lot by moving that whole thing 8 feet to the south. This is another 1,300 square feet, so you're 18,700 square foot lot. That's just my opinion.
Okay.
Because if I'm them, I'm gonna probably, obviously they'd have to make a deal with the southern property owner to buy extra property. Maybe they don't wanna do that, but,
Sure.
so, yes, Mr. Igliozzi.
Again, I don't know if the board, I'd have to research it, has the power to prohibit an easement. That's why I was saying it's either the way proposed by the planner or the way they propose it, but subject to the removal of because the reason why they'd have to remove the patio is because they're not gonna, the lot line's not gonna be there, right? Where they want it. I'm a little concerned, again, I know we're talking about that, I just want, for the record, I don't know, and we'd have to defer that issue. We should say either or and leave it, or defer it to, zoning, because I'm concerned about whether we can put a stipulation that prohibits an easement, which is a private agreement between two property owners. It's not an easement between the town and the property owner. That's what I'm concerned about. Mr. Longo, I just don't want you to feel that you've done something and they can do it unless they want to agree to that. I'd have to, Mr. Longo would have to weigh in on that.
Yeah, so we had proposed the easement because we wanted to leave that rear lot 20,000 square feet. So the easement would just be for the 8 feet of remaining patio. We're fine with that, and the buyer of the rear lot is also fine with it moving the lot line. So, yeah, we don't want to limit it to no easement, but we'll put the lot line wherever you want us to put it. Us in the rear, owner. Well, 8 feet of the patio, yeah, we're talking about 8 feet of the patio, so, and as Mr. Igliozzi points out, the board regulates land use, and, if the rear neighbor decides to let us keep 8 feet of the easement, 8 feet, it wouldn't have to be recorded in this subdivision, it wouldn't have to be on the plan, but,
It would be a license. In other words, what Mr. Longo, this is my point, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Longo is saying, we should get this out because we wouldn't want the board think they're prohibiting something. Okay, you don't want us to record an easement? They just give them a license, and they're doing the same thing. And so I think you need to really, I think you should wrestle with that line. Do you want to recommend that the line be moved to create a non-conforming lot, or do you want to maintain the conformity and however they reach an agreement? If you're allowing the lot line where they go, you don't need to comment on the easement. You don't need to comment on it. I mean, that's up to them, and, so I just don't want to get caught up in the easement. That's not our job. Our job is the lot line. I mean, your job.
So based on that, I would be against moving the lot line, the 8 feet, and creating a non-conforming, let them deal with. To go and move a lot line over a patio that, if he's gonna sell the house to somebody after, they could say, hey, I hate this patio, I wanna rip it out. And, we've gone and changed this lot line based on it. So I would say we keep the lot line where they propose it, keep the conforming lot, and let them deal with their patio and easement and license, whatever they wanna do,
Okay.
so.
So we have a motion on the table.
I'll second the motion.
We have a second of the motion by Mr. Keane. So that brings us to roll call. Mr. Fournier? Okay. Mr. Punchak?
No.
Mr. Keane?
Before I vote, we're not creating a non-conforming lot. So
We're voting on.
moving the,
What we're voting on right now is not, isn't that what this is? This is the planning
No.
recommendation, isn't it?
we're voting on the planner's recommendation
Here's what I would suggest. You've got a motion in a second, right? you can-
to approve the planning, the
To
planner's.
approve my
recommend-
recommendations.
yes.
You can entertain a second motion from somebody removing that stipulation, and then vote on if that's the inclination of the board. This can go 3-2, or it can go, you could also vote to deny and reconsider immediately by eliminating the stipulation, but that seems to me to be a little bit much.
Well, we can
They
also
could just
amend,
amend.
we can also amend the motion and
Yeah,
just,
you could just amend the motion.
and then vote on the
Correct.
amendment, and then if that doesn't pass to the original. So,
Correct.
do you want to,
Vote on the,
I think
vote,
that's probably the easiest
vote,
way.
make a motion to amend, vote on the amendment. If the amendment does not pass, you can go back to the original motion. If the amendment passed, then vote as amended.
Okay.
Need a motion for the amendment.
I'll make a motion to amend the previous motion
Thank you.
to
Eliminate,
eliminate item number 2, which is a recommendation to move the property line 8 feet south.
thank you.
8 additional feet.
Correct.
Yes.
Additional feet.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
So we have a amended motion, first motion, and an amended second motion. We'll do another roll call. Mr. Fournier?
We don't have to do anything with finishing our voting since.
You're going to vote on the amendment.
All right,
We have to
so
vote on the amendment
yes.
first, yes. Okay. Mr. Punchak?
Yes.
Mr. Keen?
yes?
Mr. Menard?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes.
Okay.
Now, we
Thank
have a second motion. We have a second motion that we need to make
Oh, I'm sorry.
for a zoning recommendation.
No,
Right.
you need to-
No, you need to vote, move
make
the,
motion
as amended.
as amended.
Move the first motion as amended.
All you did right now is remove stipulation number 2.
Okay.
Now it's to approve the recommendation of the planning absent number
As
2.
amended.
Okay. Sorry for all the legal jumping around, folks. I'm still confused, if it makes you feel any better.
I'll give it a try.
Go ahead.
So, I'll make a motion to grant master plan approval with attached stipulation minus item number 2,
And findings.
and also adding the findings, the planning office findings, and adding number 6, water approval.
There you go.
Okay.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion, we have a second. Roll call vote. Mr. Fournier?
Yes.
Mr. Punchak?
Yes.
Mr. Keen?
Yes?
Mr. Menard?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Okay. Now, for the next motion, we would be looking for a positive recommendation to the zoning board to move that
And all we're looking for is a variance of 20 feet of frontage. So I'll make that motion. Positive recommendation to zoning board for a 20-foot variance on frontage.
And I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second. Roll call vote, please. Mr. Fournier?
Yes.
Mr. Punchak?
Yes.
Mr. Keen?
Yes?
Mr. Menard?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes.
Okay.
Is that it for us for this one?
Yes.
Okay, thank you all very much. Because they don't have the frontage.
No, it's okay. Once they wanted to back off on that 8 feet. That's fine. I was just,
I don't care. Yo, at the end,
I was just afraid that.
Okay. Perfect. All right. So, we got 2 more items. Can we make them quick? The item number 8, administrative subdivision for informational purposes.
correct. So you have attached to your notice an administrative subdivision, oh, actually, this is Bobby's area, right? An administrative subdivision for East Old Greenville Road, and ironically enough, as I had explained to you earlier, the difference between a plat, assessor's plat and record plat, this lot is contained on the assessor's plat as one lot. However, it consists of 8 record lots. So where the house is, on the front on Old East Avenue, is considered a conforming lot. And then there are 3 abutting record lots that, by zoning, are merged into a second lot that that's non-conforming, right, Bobby? Yeah, it's non-conforming. It's 15,000 square feet rather than 20.
Okay.
So this is an administrative subdivision, but it's a result of us reviewing the record card as opposed to the assessor's plat. So in this particular instance, this deed is like 9 lots on the deed, not 1. So that you understand the difference there.
Okay.
So this is allowed by right.
All right.
You got a conforming lot and a pre-existing, three pre-existing non-conforming lots that by zoning are merged into 1 lot.
Okay.
So this came to you because?
It's an administrative subdivision, so they had to merge those 3 lots. Anytime you
They merged them and now someone's gonna.
merge into one, and that gentleman's actually building a house for his daughter.
So they'll never return it, they can never return the 3 lots without.
Correct, they'd have to come back here, yeah,
But then it'd be creating non-conforming.
correct,
And that would-
which you would not authorize.
All right. Last item on the list.
Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn. We got a second. All in favor?
Come back, Mark.
We got an all in favor? Aye. All right, we are adjourned at 8:05.